What's up, everybody? Pen here. So this is going to be my video on the LG C2 Oled when it comes to PC gaming, 4K, 120Hz, VRR, how to set up HDR, auto HDR, the Windows 11 HDR calibration tool, and all that jazz. So first, we just want to access the home dashboard. How we get to that? We go to our inputs, and we just want to select the home dashboard like that. And we're going to be editing the inputs. Hit the three lines in the upper right hand corner. You want to do edit inputs. So whatever HDMI that your PC is, and I got my if you're seeing any type of blooming, I apologize. This is from my cell phone camera. You want to edit the input. You want to go over to the left side here, and you just want to make sure it's the computer icon. So you just want to make sure it's PC. You know, that's the computer icon. And whatever HDMI input that your computer is connected to or assigned to, you want to make sure it's in the PC option. Okay, so we're going to be getting into the 4K 120Hz HDR setup. So you want to access your Nvidia control panel. Now you can right click, go to show more options on your desktop. Bring that up like that. Now we want to go in the display and change resolution. There's my LG C2 right there, GSYNC compatible. First, you want to go to PC, make sure it's 3840 by 2160, make sure refresh is 120 Hz. Down below, let me zoom in here. I'm using Nvidia color settings. So 32-bit. Your output can be 10 or 12, especially when it's 4K up to 120 at HDR. I'm using limited, and I'm using RGB for the color format. You want to just change those, hit apply. Next, you want to go to setup GSYNC. And actually, it wants me to hit apply here. So I'll do this, I'll do just that. I'm going to turn black. All right, so I'm gonna do it like that. All right, so you want to go to setup GSYNC, and you want to make sure the LG C2 is selected. You're going to get something like LG Electronics, LG TV. You know, that's how you know that's your C2 Oled. And you want to make sure enable GSYNC compatible option is checked, and I have it enabled for window and full screen mode. And I also have enabled settings for the selected display model. Now, once I run through the window side of things, I'm going to be going over my settings on the actual television as well. So from there, let's go up to manage 3D settings. We can take a bit for the transit. Okay. And really here, there's mainly three options to look for. I have the max frame rate. So this is pretty much, I have a frame rate cap of 115 frames, FPS. The OLED goes up to 120 Hz. I find this to be a sweet spot to where I'm always within the GSYNC range to where I'm not going outside of it and potentially getting screen tearing. GSYNC compatible is selected. And I just make sure I have the vertical sync option, which is right here. I make sure that is on. But when I'm inside of a game, for example, I make sure I turn VSync off in game, but have it enabled on in the actual control panel. So I'll show a scenario like that later. But try that out. That's my settings. And we can move forward from here. Okay, so next we're going to be going to display settings. You can right click, go to display settings. All right, I'm going to select my TV, and pretty much, and this color profile that you see here is going to make sense. But what I want to do here, I want to make sure that my advanced display, which is down below under related settings, I want to make sure that match my Nvidia control panel. So 4K, we're getting an active signal of 100 Hertz. Let's change that. Don't know what happened there. Mistakes can happen, so make sure you pay attention to what you are doing. There we go, 120. I didn't even realize that. My apologies. So just make sure you're getting your 3840 by 2160 at 120 Hertz. And make sure you reference those Nvidia color settings down below. Similar stuff to what I showed earlier. I'm going to go back into my display settings. And I'm going to go to my advanced display. And we have it match. Notice how the peak brightness is 800 nits for the LG C2 OLED. That was after I used the Windows 11 HDR Calibration software tool. And everything matched. My refresh rate here is 120 Hertz as well, as you can see right there. Okay, so now that we got everything set up in Windows properly in terms of our display, I'm going to be going over HDR. So with the TV selected, you want to go to, wait, I gotta go through one more thing. Under related settings, there's something called graphics. And you can do change default graphic settings, system display graphics. Click on that. And you see something called variable refresh rate. When possible, get a higher frame rate and reduce screen tearing in games that don't support variable refresh rate by default. You might need to restart your game for this to take effect. I have that on. And of course, I have auto HDR on as well. So that's important as well. I do have those enabled. To turn on HDR, you want to use HDR. Click on that. And you want use HDR to be set to on. Let me back up. I have HDR video streaming. I have that on. HDR display calibration. Auto HDR on. And I have the HDR content brightness from SDR content to HDR content for comparison. I have that in the middle, 50 default. So that way the content can display correctly. And you can adjust this slider depending on your display or whatever's comfortable to you. So there's the SDR to the left and there's the HDR to the right. I have it right in the middle. I have it at 50. Okay, so next you want to go to, well, you have to go into the Microsoft store. So in the Microsoft store, you can type it in on the search tab in Windows 11. You want to type in HDR and you want to look for the Windows HDR calibration. You can't miss it. It's named this. It's by Microsoft Corporation. And you're going to get this unique icon that's like RGB rainbow with black and white in the middle, in the center of it. Things like that. So you want to download this and you want to open this application up. And you're going to be met with this screen here. I'm going to do this. So this is the HDR calibration. So you want to move this window to the HDR display you want to calibrate. So we are looking at my LG C2 OLED. And we did make sure that HDR is turned on in display settings beforehand. And we can get started. So pretty much This is the minimum luminance. And my apologies, you're seeing my two monitors in the background. But the goal here is to have this be the darkest. So I'm just going to drag this. Reason being is because OLEDs can reach perfect black levels. So, and I'll have some stuff in the post reference, but you want that to be on the darkest slider, which is all the way to the left. Pretty much 0. And if you see any type of blooming, this is from my cell phone camera. This is not what you would see on an OLED. OLEDs does not have blooming. You want to hit next. Now you want to do maximum luminance. So here, you can drag this until the number is 800. Reason being is because the LG C2 Oled has a peak brightness of 800 nits. So we want to match that in Windows 11 with our HDR/auto HDR setup. You notice, this is somewhat similar to the PlayStation 5 HDR calibration, but it's a little bit different. It may be the most similar to what you would do on the Xbox Series X. You want to hit next. And now you want to do the max full frame luminance test. So this setting determines how bright your display can be. Okay, once again, I'm going to be doing 800. Because the C2 OLED has a peak brightness of 800 nits when it comes to HDR. And I'm sorry that I'm backing up and zooming in, but I want you guys to see this. Hit next. So now it's going to give you SDR content and HDR content. And you can adjust the color slider. It depends. One moment. Okay. So this is according to the research and the links that I have in the description. So I'll leave this at default. Want to hit next. And this is a new calibration profile, but I've already calibrated mine. But it's going to show you the before and after, calibration, things like that. But once you are done, you can hit finish down below here, and you will be all set to go. So how can we confirm that it's the right color profile? You see I named mine's Pen LG C2 800 nits HDR calibration. And also we can check via the display. And as you can see where it says peak brightness, 800 nits, which matches the LG C2 OLED. And you see my RTX 3080 GPU, which is what I have this hooked up to. That's the GPU driver, things like that. Okay, so on the C2, I'll bring up the settings, which instantly pulls up the, the game bar, game optimizer, things of that nature. I'll click on game optimizer. So I have the game genre on standard. I have prevent input delay on boost. VRR and GSYNC turned on. I do not have an AMD graphics card. I have that turned off. Haven't messed with fine-tuned dark areas. Have that on default. Menu color is green because, Nvidia. So I sort of have it match on my PC. I can go through the picture as well. Black stabilizer, white, 10. Adjust contrast 100, black level 50. Adjust sharpness 10. color depth 65. I'm using HDIG for my dynamic tone mapping. Wide aspect ratio, have it on 60:9. I can change that if I wish. Screen position, mid, advanced picture settings, that I would do. And we're going to bring that up here. Pretty much just a carbon copy, but OLED pixel brightness 100, 100 in contrast, black 50, HDIG for dynamic tone mapping. I'm using video range limited. So if you notice in my Nvidia control panel, I have that set to limited as well, where I'm using limited on my actual television as well. I like the contrast look of it. You know, it has better contrast to me. Color 65. Color gamut dynamic. Fine tune is grayed out for PC. Color temperature, I'm using warm 40. And I have everything else default. Clarity, adjust sharpness, and because I'm in HDR Game Optimizer, all of these other settings are grayed out. Now, with this, I can actually go through the sound. So in case you're getting any type of like audio syncing issues or audio delay, I am using an HDMI eARC. So I'm using my Vizio 5.12 Dolby Atmos setup. But if I go to my advanced settings, I can do select HDMI audio format. HDMI 3 is my PC. I have it set to PCM. HDMI 1 is my PlayStation 5. I have that set to PCM. Reason being is because when I set these to PCM, I don't get any of those weird audio delays or audio sync issues. I have HDMI 2 and 4 set to bitstream because one of those is my Nvidia Shield. Things like that. So that's how I set that up to get rid of the weird sound issues. Digital sound output, I have set the pass-through, and I have eARC support turned on. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I have the AI service, all that stuff is turned off. OLED care. You know, I have the screen move turned on. I have the adjust logo brightness high. Pretty much, you know, this is to help prevent burn-in on an OLED panel display. So I have everything turned on as far as my OLED care. So no worries on that end. Of course, when it comes to the energy saving, I have that completely off. And that's really it as far as how I got my settings for the LG C2. You know, we cover in this video Windows 11, HDR, Auto HDR, 4K, 120 Hertz, 10 to 12-bit, you know, limited. Did that in the Nvidia control panel. Showed how to enable and set up VRR successfully. Also showed how to calibrate the HDR for the OLED, specifically for the C2, using the Windows 11 HDR tool found in the Microsoft Store. And we can do like a game example. I'm currently playing Naruto, so I'll show that as far as my settings or what I have based off of the Nvidia control panel. And we can just end the video from there. Okay, so I'm going to show, this is Naruto Shippuden, Ultimate Ninja Storm 3 full burst. Going through my backlog on PC. So this is my settings. So I have VSync off in game, but I have it on in the control panel. You know, that's how you properly set up GSYNC with VRR on a GSYNC compatible or GSYNC certified display, such as the LG OLED. So pretty much got the game maxed out. You don't need all those settings above, especially in 4K. Oh, my camera is flipping out. Resolution 4K, full screen on. That's that. So I'm holding the camera in one hand and I have the controller in another. So if things get shaky, you know, my apologies, but it is what it is. Do a free battle, things like that. I can do a practice, do a single, default. Currently playing through this game story mode, so pretty much, you know, this is what it looks like. Just showing some gameplay that I'm doing with one hand. So yeah, and everything is smooth. Like, and this game actually supports auto HDR. So when I loaded up in Windows, you know, right before I switched to this game, it gave me the notification in the bottom right hand corner that this game supports auto HDR. So I'm playing this, you know, with HDR Game Optimizer on the OLED, and yeah, it looks and plays beautiful. Now I'm going to pause this for a bit. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my, you know, game bar, things like that. So, you know, this game doesn't go up to 120 hertz, but you'll see the variable refresh rate, whatever was going on in the background. You know, when you're playing the game that supports up to 120 hertz, you know, that number is going to be changing dynamically. Just depends on what's going on in the game. You see it can vary, but as you can see, it is staying below my total hertz, which would be 120. So it varies, but that's what we're seeing here on screen. And do some more gameplay for y'all. I can pretty much only do one combo with one hand, so that's what y'all going to see. I can jump, I can vary it. Let me do like a special for y'all right quick. Yeah, so like this is like wonderful. All right, well, giving you guys a gameplay example to wrap up this video. So let me know what you guys think about the video. Like, share, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this content. And until next time, peace out. Thank you for watching.